What is one country that you will never visit again?
Cairo, Egypt. I went there with my sister. We were 22 and 18 years. Oh my god. You can't even walk 10 minutes outside without being harassed. I stayed in a hotel, 5 minutes from the pyramids. It was not worth it. One time, we wanted to go get some pizza down the street, and some car just blocked us and said if we did not give our phone number, he would run us over. Therefore, we stayed in the hotel for 2 weeks and only went out to buy some drinks and foods. We were so scared. Even in the hotel we were harassed. And guys inside the hotel were calling us on the room phone. Gosh, never again.
I currently study in Egypt, and I have been here for quite a while. My observations are in line with the unfortunate experiences stated here, when it comes to harassment. This needs to be tackled seriously by the government. Generally, Egyptians are helpful and funny people, and I believe it would be really unfair to generalize the country, especially if you haven't traveled through the country. One thing may disappoint you, another thing will make you cheerful. Give it a try.
As an Egyptian woman reading this, I'm happy, sad and shocked. Happy, because the world now knows how we suffer each day. I'm 21 and I can't go out after 7 p.m. alone or walk in a crowded area without my dad or my brother. I was first sexually assaulted when I was 11 and saw my 6-year-old sister being groped by a stranger. A 6-year-old girl, who's now afraid to even hug her own dad. I'm a Muslim woman covered from head to toe, who gets told you should change the way you dress, cover more, why wearing bright colors, you shouldn't go out alone without a man and you shouldn't leave the house. My friend wears the niqab, which is basically she covers even her face, only her eyes are shown, and she was sexually abused several times and catcalled at the streets and she was told it was her fault. Sad, because innocent women went through the same shit and maybe some of them are traumatized by this shit and shocked about how ugly, greedy and disgusting people are. As an Egyptian myself, my parents felt safe sending me to UAE for a short trip, rather than me going to Alexandria with group of friends. I'm here to tell you that I won't hesitate to leave and go live in another country. Yes, I'd miss the history, the places and the air. Egypt is beautiful but filled with shitty people.
Hey! Egyptian male here. Just wanted to say everything said here is 100% true. What I'm actually commenting for is something that happened last year, when a lot of women publicly revealed they got sexually harassed multiple times and the government doesn't do anything about it. Then some Muslim sheikh, I'm Muslim, by the way, came out and said the reason women get harassed is because of their clothes. I literally saw a woman wearing a niqab, get sexually harassed. My sister wears a hijab with wide clothes. Nothing revealing whatsoever and still got verbally, sexually harassed. Clothes aren't the issue, it's Egypt's culture, where misogyny is fucking common. Women here are literal toys, nobody cares about them. They don't even choose their marriage freely without their whole fucking family agreeing with it. It pisses me off. Nobody deserves this. I literally had an argument with an old man in some cafe about why women deserve to live freely. He exactly told me their only use is giving birth and making food, nothing more, nothing less. I literally was about to beat him up. I just calmly left, but this shit is still haunting me to this day. I hope one day, everything just gets fixed, but it definitely won't happen magically. I want to get out of here as soon as possible. I'm Egyptian, living next to the pyramids and co-founder of a travel agency in Egypt. God only knows how we really suffer from all what comments mentioned, but now we are trying hard to change this image step by step. We start respect human rights, animal rights and become environmentally friendly. We started campaigns to teach people to change their behavior toward foreigners, ask them personally to help us change our image. I feel sorry for everyone who suffered from this. And Egypt is everyone's home now.
As a female, living close to the pyramids, I'm never tempted to go there, although I'm an architect. During the past 20 years, I visited them 4 times, 1 time for college researches and 3 times for organized events by Sphinx, where there are organizers, police, etc. I normally don't go to touristic places, on the contrary, we go out in malls or business parks in the suburbs, where it is much safer.
As an Egyptian straight male, I'd like to say that everything on this thread is actually true, it's not biased or even exaggerated. Egyptian women and minorities go through the same, and being a male means trying your best to protect your family and friends from such things. It's stressful even when you're a native Egyptian, and it would definitely suck more if you're a foreigner. Do not come to Egypt. I am Egyptian and it will be Egypt, if I ever leave it. Literally, a shithole I am living in. No safety, you can see a 5-year-old boy, holding a machete and swinging it like a toy, and a 7-year-old, driving a tuk-tuk, and he can't even look behind the steering wheel, and street fights everywhere without police interfering. All things are expensive and bad services, like the internet. You literally pay $30 for limited internet, and in food, they use chemicals to make it grow faster and inject chicken with hormones to make them larger and mixing milk with water. Even if you eat at home, you can get poisoned. All services, like medical or teaching, are expensive. You can pay $1,000 and die like a dog on the street. And the Nile, they throw shit and piss in it, and you need to buy a filter so you can drink water, without getting poisoned. That is just a summary of how Egypt is a shithole. If I continue to express how it is fucked up to go or live in it, I will go over 1,000 lines. As an Egyptian citizen, male, I would like to say that living in this country is a challenge every day. From the poorly designed streets and bridges, to the way women look at you in suspicion or fright, for just walking in the same sidewalk as them. And who could blame them? They are prone to sexual harassment and rape, every time they step their feet in the streets of this disgusting country. Every time I have to walk in these streets with a female, I have to be very careful where to go, if someone looked at her in a bad way, if someone tried to touch her, etc. So, in a way, it's definitely stressful as hell for us decent normal males, not even close to the level of stress females go through. I am just saying my own experience. You females are heroes for being able to live in this country. This current state of Egypt affected the decent hardworking, normal citizens just as it affected the poor. I hate when Egyptians say that we have to defend our country from these posts. Defend it from what exactly? We are a disgusting country, with disgusting people living in disgusting streets. I honestly don't believe in this country no more, or I am proud for being called Egyptian. This country brought me nothing. No good education, no good friends, no good food, and no good place to live. You keep boasting about the pharaohs and how they did this and did that. Just because we had a great history, doesn't mean we have to bring it up in every fucking conversation we have about the country. Excuse my meaningless rant and horrendous grammar. Don't come to Egypt. Morocco. Went to Marrakesh in 2019 and I was the most scared I have ever been. We decided one day to leave our hotel and go into the old town. Once we got off the bus, a shady looking guy came up to us asking if we needed help getting into the old town and finding the square. The hotel manager had warned us that people will ask if we're lost or offer to help and point us in the right direction, but then will get us lost and demand money from us or rob us. As soon as we walked up to the square, vendors approached us. A woman grabbed my hand and started putting henna on my hand and asking for money. I wiped it off and refused to pay, and because of this, we were suddenly swarmed by locals demanding money. We ended up giving them some money in the end, just so we could get away. We lasted all but 10 minutes, before finding a taxi and to go back to the hotel. Such a shame too, because I really wanted to explore and see all of the history. Safe to say, we will most definitely not be going back again. I can't imagine me ever going back to Morocco. The people are mostly friendly, but being harassed by vendors stressed me out a lot. The food wasn't something I really enjoyed, and it was somewhat difficult country to navigate. I did get to visit the Sahara, and while it is a beautiful place there, actually ended up being a big thunderstorm at the time, so I spent most of the night in a metal tent and sleeping in a damp cot. While leaving the desert, one of the roads flooded, because of the rain, but in order to avoid missing my once-a-day bus, I crossed the waist-deep river, instead of waiting for the jeep to come get me. Another thing that happened was, I got bed bugs the first night and had my whole body was destroyed by bug bites. I spent most of the trip paranoid even after superheating my stuff. I found bed bugs at the next place I stayed as well, which added to my paranoia. All in all, I was pretty miserable this entire trip. I've met people who enjoyed it there, but for myself, I don't have any interest in ever going back.
Not a country, but I wouldn't go back to Marseille again. I felt safer in Morocco. I had also been to France before and couldn't believe this was the same country. I hardly saw any women out and about. Was getting catcalled constantly, or having men come up to me, to hit on me or mutter sexualized stuff, as they walked past. I had a very strong feeling, I was going to get followed, robbed, assaulted. A guy staying on the same floor as me, kept knocking on my door 3 times a day to talk to me and invite me to go out with him. So, I felt like I couldn't even leave my room without being harassed or followed. The place I was staying at, basically had no staff after 9 p.m. or on weekends, which was most of my trip there. So, I couldn't get a room change. Plus, the one time there was a guy on duty, he yelled at me in French and was horrible to me, even when it was clear. I had no idea what he was saying, all because I couldn't find the front door release button. I managed to do 1 day of sightseeing. The next day, I bought enough food for 3 days and did not leave my room until it was time to go to the airport. Never been so glad for an early flight in my life, because my creepy neighbor wouldn't have been watching my room at 4 a.m. Worst past was I was off to Malta for 4 days and I had such an amazing time. I contemplated staying and working for the summer. Could have at least had a week there, if I didn't bother with Marseille. Turkey. Absolutely beautiful country, but the sexual harassment was too much. And no, I'm not particularly good looking, either. Men literally followed me around. Thankfully, I wasn't alone. If I had been, I would have had to go back to my hotel, if I could make it there, and just stay in my room until my flight out. It was that bad.
Turkey. My wife and I had a flight transfer there on our return trip from our honeymoon. We ended up being detained and separated for no apparent reason. I was let through to the terminal, and as I was boarding, my wife was nowhere to be found. They told me to get on and that they'd find my wife and put her on the next flight. I told the guy there's no fucking way I'm leaving without my wife. Then, they closed the terminal and turned around and told me they knew where she was and offered to take me to her. Ended up maxing out our credit card to get on the next flight the hell out of there. Wife and I agreed that we're never setting foot in that country again.
Turkey. I traveled there when I was 20. I was at the market, when a guy dressed in a nice costume came and grabbed me by the hand and pulled me inside a shop. In it, there were a bunch of men sitting around a sofa, looking at me in a wicked way, and the man made me sit on that sofa. I was frozen in fear, so I couldn't react. I remember they asked me my name and age and if I liked to party. I figured that if I play dumb, they'll be nice to me, so I gave a fake name and told them that I absolutely love parties. Big lie. I hate them. The man who had grabbed me told me that he wants to invite me to a party, where there will be other girls like me and the party will be full of nice food and nice music too. He wrote his phone number on paper, and I pretended to be ecstatic, and I was like, thank you so much. I'm going to call you tonight for the party, and the men around me seemed very satisfied. That moment, my boyfriend, with whom I was with in the market, walked in and he said, "What's going on here?" And all the men suddenly vanished from around me, and the man in the costume said he was helping me with something. To this day, I think I escaped luckily.
Prague. Beautiful city, top to bottom, but the locals absolutely hate foreigners. I got lost at one point, and I wanted to find a train station. It was legit 5 minutes away from where I was, I just couldn't see it. After asking 10 plus locals and being met with nothing but huffs and puffs, even asking shopkeepers etc., an elderly Asian couple running a Chinese restaurant were the only ones who took 2 minutes to point to the station for me. And that was just one interaction. I've been pushed off the train several times, I got zero service in several restaurants I tried, and I ended up going to McDonald's, because it was such a painful experience. The food was great, but I couldn't enjoy a meal with the entire restaurant, staff and all giving me dirty looks. It gave me the feeling that they expect tourists to stay in tourist traps and away from local places. I felt extremely unwelcome, and you can't pay me to go back. France. I went to Paris a few years ago for a festival, and I have never been anywhere else where it felt like everybody I met was rude to me. I'm still convinced to this day that it's because I'm English. The hotel charged me an extra €50 at the end as well for using a cup to drink water from, saying that I had caused them more work. Not to mention the fact that the festival I went to fucked up their sewage system, and their toilet water and drinking water ended up mixing. I ended up with norovirus thanks to that. Genuinely, I'd rather spend a weekend in Swindon than go back to Paris. Thailand. Child prostitution is out of control there. The conversation that grossed me out the most was, I guess one of the women working at the message parlor saw me looking at a child who was playing out front. I just got lost in thought about the kid's life. A woman approaches me and asks me if I liked her, if I wanted to pay for her, how she was a virgin and hasn't had her period, etc. This wasn't the only experience I had with people prostituting children. My buddy was eyes glazed over while talking to a girl, who was likely not older than 16, most likely around 13 to 14, but had heavy makeup. Honestly, A lot of Thai people are great, but the country of Thailand is fucked, and I refuse to support a country that allows that to happen. Sorry Thai people, but you're not getting my foreign money, so you can continue turning a blind eye to kids being fucked for profit, and I encourage everyone to avoid Thailand until they change their ways. Very unfortunate, because Thailand was also one of the cooler places I've been to. Pet a tiger, hugged an elephant. So much to do there, that's all tainted by child prostitution happening in the background. USA. Worst place ever. An average American does not know anything outside the USA. They think they are the center of the world, and they don't need to know anything about other countries. New York City is super polluted with beggars everywhere. I saw 2 people fighting with knives at 1 a.m. Overpriced. Dirty. There are many racist people in the southern and middle states, add to this guns. People in the USA worship the dollar. They accept to do anything for money, no ethics. I didn't feel safe there. Not the country but a state, Arizona, specifically Scottsdale. The worst experience I've had visiting the US. Met far too many rude people. I genuinely think it could be the breeding ground for Karens, as there seemed to be one in every store I went to. People being smug, I heard more howling and racism toward Mexicans/natives, that genuinely shocked me. I only went to see the Grand Canyon and do some exploring. On my first day, I saw a couple having sex on a park bench in broad daylight. I used to think the Walmart memes were over the top, boy, was I wrong. When I went to a Walmart, there was a woman full-on screamed in my face, because I had stopped to tie my shoelace. The pharmacy woman was more interested in her phone and pretending I didn't exist, while she browsed at lamps or whatever it was on her phone, than give me my medicine. A ton of other things happened during my week there, but I'd never step foot back in Scottsdale again. I'd rather never travel again. I think the heat of Arizona has taken its toll on some of them. I'd never ever go back again. China. Very racist, pollution is bad, horrible service, no Wi-Fi in the airport, long lines, bad food, security took away many things from my luggage. Better to fly through other countries like Taiwan and Korea.